Winnie the Pooh, bedtime stories. Look at Pooh blowing out the light. Time for bed. Pooh's having a hard time sleeping. Can't have that. In search of breakfast. It was the very best time of day in the 100-acre wood, which is the same as saying it was the very beginning of the day, when the sun was just easing itself up over the horizon. It was the time when a certain bearer of very little brain typically rolled out of bed to celebrate the new morning with a very large breakfast. But this wasn't to be a typical morning at the Winnie the Pooh house. Instead of the friendly rattle of honey pots and hungry smacking noises, the only sound to be heard was a long, shivering sigh, followed immediately by a most forlorn, "Oh, bother." Pooh was sitting on the edge of his bed, swinging his feet aimlessly and looking terribly sad. He looked as if not even the thought of breakfast could cheer him up. In fact, when the thought of his favorite time of day for a small smackerel of something sweet to eat did occur to him, he wrinkled up his forehead even more and swung his feet around a bit more nervously and said very loudly, "Oh, bother, bother." Some serious thinking had to be done about breakfast, and Pooh knew there wasn't enough room inside for it to take place properly. So he hopped off the bed and began to dress as quickly as he could. In no time at all, Pooh was stomping through the 100-acre wood, in no particular direction, as fast as his short legs could carry him. Realizing finally that thinking was done much more constructively when seated comfortably than at a full run and all out of breath, Pooh plopped himself down on a convenient stump and tried to look as serious as it was possible for him to look for so long as it was possible for him to do so. He managed this for up to several seconds at a time, hoping that the more he looked as if he were having an idea, the more likely it would be that one might come along and take root. But instead of an idea, Tigger happened along. He reacted with dismay at the uncharacteristic look of concentration on Pooh's face. "Pooh boy!" Tigger cried with great concern in his voice. "What's the matter? Thorn in your paw? Ache in your tooth? Cramp in your cramper?" Pooh tried desperately to hang on to his serious expression as he answered, "No, Tigger, it's nothing like that. Why do you ask?" "I'm asking because you look like you lost your best friend," Tigger said. "And I know that it's impossible, because I was standing right next to you the last time I looked." Pooh smiled. "You were still standing there the last time I looked, too," he said. Then he sighed as he realized that all his efforts at thoughtfulness had disappeared along with his frown. "Then what are we waiting for?" shouted Tigger with delight. "It's time for breakfast. Let's go do what Pooh and bears and Tiggers do best and snarf down a few smackerels." "I can't," said Pooh, so very quietly that Tigger almost didn't hear him. "Winnie the Pooh can't have breakfast?" Tigger responded in amazement. "Why not?" "Because breakfast is what's eaten after a night's sleep," Pooh explained sadly. "And I haven't had the sleep yet." "I think you better tell me what's going on, Pooh," said Tigger solemnly. "Well," Pooh began thinking back, "it was a soft and cozy night, my bed was quite comfortable, and I just had my midnight smackerel, so there was no rumbly-tumbly to keep me awake." "So, what happened?" Tigger wanted to know. "Did some sort of noisy type noise keep you awake? Creaking faucets or dripping floors?" "No," replied Pooh thoughtfully. "It was the quiet. I listened to it all night long. There seemed to be very much of it." "Wow!" said Tigger. I don't think I'd ever even heard my bedtime story if all that quiet was hanging around me. Bedtime story? Said Pooh, suddenly sitting up very straight. I didn't hear any bedtime story. Hoo-hoo-hoo! Exclaimed Tigger.